Okay, today is the 137th iPad Weekly Forum. This forum today is co-hosted by iPad and BK21 Program, Department of Public Administration, and Kwak Master Degree Program together. So today we have very special topic and also a very important topic in the critical juncture of the COVID-19 pandemic area. Today we invited a very special guest, Lawrence Kwak, the Secretary General of the GCF Secretariat. So GCF is Global Social Economic Forum initiated by Seoul City. I think that Secretary General Kwak will explain during the lecture what GCEP is. Anyway, the Secretary General Kwak, prior to joining GCEP, she served as UN's representative for Pax Romana ICMCA in Geneva, where she also served as Secretary General of 5 years. Over her 30 years career, she devoted herself improve human rights and social development in many developing countries, particularly in Asia and South America region. So she will give a special lecture. The title is Role and Potential of Social and Solidarity Economy for Inclusive and Sustainable Development in the post-COVID-19. I think this topic is very important and valuable for you, all of you, for our future. So let's welcome Secretary General Lawrence Kwak.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Professor Mugonjong. First of all, I would like to express my sincere thanks and appreciation to the Institute for Poverty Alleviation and International Development, as well as Professor Mugonjong and all his team for inviting me to this very special lecture, and also to give me an opportunity to share about our work on the social and solidarity economy, and also current context of the COVID-19 crisis, why the social solidarity economy is emerging as an important strategy and public policy. Distinguished guests, as well as excellent participants, I would like to begin my lecture, but let me first check with you how many people. Okay, we cannot see in the gallery. I guess that some of you may not know very well about the social and solidarity economy. So I have prepared a few slides about what is the social and solidarity economy, and then I will move to the COVID-19 pandemic and new challenges emerging in the current context of the COVID-19 pandemic. And then why social solidarity economy is important to solve and respond to those challenges, and what is the role and potential of social solidarity economy for inclusive and sustainable development. And then I will end my contribution with a presentation on the role of a global social economy forum and how we are working to increase the visibility of the social solidarity economy. So let me start with what is the social solidarity economy. So actually, the social solidarity economy is used as an umbrella term for initiative, enterprise, and organizations that are engaged in producing goods, knowledge, and services. But this part is very important while operating on some values and principles, such as the cooperation, solidarity, equity, distribution of benefit, and democratic self-governance. So what it means, the social solidarity economy is like many other ordinary economic entities, but they are governed by specific values and principles. That's why social solidarity economy is considered as an alternative model of development to address some social problems such as poverty, vulnerability, exclusion, and unsustainable practice of production and consumption. I think this diagram will show you more clearly that actually there are many diverse actors and entities who are involved in the social economy. I think I'm sure that all of you know about the cooperative exist in all countries and known as a very traditional and quite old entity. But in many countries also the associations are considered as an actor or entity of social economy, which is not the case in South Korea. And then, of course, growing actor, social enterprise are one of them. And paritarian institutions are also one of them. And the foundations are also considered in many countries as part of social economy. It is not the case in Korea. And then mutual insurance companies. And all of those actors and entities are governed with some social environmental objectives, such as like they are all operating for the primacy of the individual, community, and the social objective over capital. So even though they are economic entities and enterprise, they are not pursuing for the sake of benefit or surplus, but their primary objective are to serve those members or communities and social objectives. And also they are operating through the voluntary and open membership through the democratic governance. And they do have the combination of the interest of members, users, and general interest. So they are not serving at all for those who invested in the company, but they, if you like, their purpose are really for serving general interest, and also for the defense and application of the principle of solidarity and responsibility through autonomous management and independence from public authorities. And I think the last part is very not so open, well known, but is they are generally reinvesting most of their benefit and surplus to carry out a more sustainable development objective or service of interest for their members or communities and general interest. So I summarize the goal of the social solidarity economy more simply that it works for the equality and fairness in the provision of basic needs of individuals and communities, such as jobs, food, housing, clothes, education, social services, and everything, energies, and especially to ensure safety of life and to promote local economic development, economic inclusion, social and environmental protection, reduction of ecological footprint, as well as the gender equality empowerment. And generally in the countries where the both national and local government who are engaged in developing and promoting social solidarity economy, they are using this terminology of social solidarity economy ecosystem in a sense that we need several pillars of public policies to support and to promote social solidarity economy. So such as like legal framework or strong public and civil society partnership or research and exchange practice, that capacity building programs or financial peace. All these pillars are very intertwined and is connected with one another. And so more detailedly, like why strong public and civil society partnership is very important, because as I already explained, many of those social economic actors are working to provide a model of social transformation, and especially to solve some social economic challenges, and also to promote learning in democratic values. And so in order to identify the needs of the communities, and especially, like vulnerable groups such as youth, women, or disabled people, that this partnership between public and private entity of social economy is very important. But also in many countries, growingly, that they are trying to adopt the legal frameworks. And because it's very important to provide long-lasting institutional support and recognition to the social solidarity economy, especially regardless of the political leadership change. Because I think if in a country where there is no legal framework, then one government could support, but when that alternation of political leadership happens, that it might be stopped, it might be changed. So in order to avoid that kind of political interference, then many countries are adopting actually to put legal ground, and especially to give an official recognition and visibility to the social solidarity economy. And also this third pillar, enhanced public awareness and recognition, is very important. But even though they might enjoy public support of national or local governments, but in fact, what is more important for the social solidarity economy is really a recognition and support coming from the citizens, and especially from the consumers, because they are all economic entities and enterprises. So this alliance and this more wider support from citizens and consumers are very important. And I think bottom line is basically for the entities and enterprise of social economy, especially capacity building is very important in a country where social solidarity economy is a recent phenomena, and many actors who are involved in social solidarity economy who do not know very well about the entrepreneurships or business models, such as in many Asian countries or in African countries. It is very important to provide this capacity building support for the entrepreneurship skills or the scaling of business models and economic activities. This research and exchange platform is gaining more and more importance, because we need constantly the data and statistics to evaluate what social and economic impact are produced by social solidarity economy in order to decide what they need and how we can support them. So growingly, I think many university institutions and researchers are engaged in producing a lot of research materials, but also not only from academic institutions. There is a growing peer learning programs which are offered in order to duplicate, replicate also best practice or good successful stories among social solidarity economy entities. And I think the last pillar is most important. I think financial tools, especially sustainable and inclusive financial tools, are very important to support social solidarity economy, and especially to make them some of those innovative ideas into impactful business model. Actually, that there is a lot of risk involved. So particularly designed inclusive and sustainable financial mechanisms are needed actually to accompany their journey. And I think, as you all know, that in 2015, the UN has adopted 2030 agenda and sustainable development goals. So since 2015, there has been a lot of discussions that social solidarity economy could be a tool to implement these sustainable development goals at the local level, because social solidarity economies are very well understood as a strategic tool to achieve, particularly for some goals, like the goal 1, to fight against poverty and to end poverty, or the goal 10, to fight against inequalities, or goal 16, for the good governance, to ensure peaceful society and justice and strong institutions and so on. But also in various areas of social services and assistance, such as the goal 3 for the good health and well-being, which of course is becoming one of the most important goals in the current context of COVID-19 crisis, but also the quality education. And this is also an issue currently in the current context. But I think many governments are also giving a high importance to the goal 8, to provide a decent work and employment, as well as 9 and so on. Actually, that there has been a lot of those discussions on how we can use the public policies of social solidarity economy to achieve those sustainable goals. But the problem is that COVID-19 pandemic has occurred since last year. And then now we are facing a lot of new challenges, which are not different, but which are becoming much more serious. So COVID-19 pandemic started, as you all know, with a health and hygiene crisis, but it turned immediately as a massive social and economic crisis. I think according to the ILO estimate, even in the second trimester of last year, that more than 436 million enterprise has been collapsed, and then more than 305 million people have lost jobs, and especially people who are very affected by growing poverty and inequality are the people who are not organized and who are working mostly in informal economies, such as women, migrant workers, youth, disabled peoples, indigenous peoples, and so on. So their incomes have dropped almost, two-thirds of previous period. So increasing poverty and inequality is becoming a major issue for all governments, especially in a country where there is a lack of systematic support in the absence of, more formal contract, labor contract, or unemployment benefit, or social security systems are not in place for everybody, that there is a growing gap between rural and urban areas, and between those who have and who have not is becoming a major issue, and is threatening actually the survival right of many people, especially who are not able to secure the good quality of healthcare and good quality medical services. Of course, I think many also international organizations have noticed that within the current context of COVID-19 pandemic, that gender violence, gender-based violence are on increase, both in domestic as well as in society. But this phenomena is not only in developing countries. Actually, that according to the OECD report, this is happening even in the developed countries, in the most powerful economy countries, because young people and women are the most biggest loser and victim hit by these job losses. As you can see, last year's statistics show that actually the young people and especially who have been very affected, and also women. So as I said, that the current context of COVID-19 crisis is actually operating as a catalyst for revealing pre-existing shortfalls and systemic deficiencies. But the problem is that they are actually generating spiral of crisis and precariousness, starting with healthcare crisis, economic crisis, but it's also generating, food shortages, which are already aggravated by the ecological crisis, and then deepening poverty and inequality. So loss of those several hundred million jobs are not possible to recover immediately. So responsibility to act against these trends for the government is becoming very heavy and intensive, and as well as for the international organizations such as UN and World Bank and so on. And these consequences actually are not affecting to the people in the same way. And actually it does affect populations and communities that were already at least are the most affected. And as I already said, the groups who are vulnerable are the bigger losers. And according to the World Bank, and even this year, that there will be several hundred million people who will be fallen into a situation of poverty. So with the figure of last year, that more than 400 million people will be falling into a situation of poverty as the new poor. So it's amazing actually that so many governments, policymakers, and international institutions are actually saying that social solidarity economic organizations, enterprise could be the alternative, or could be the strategy, because they have the best potential to boost the creation and conservation of decent jobs. And according to the recent study, a joint study conducted by the ILO and URICSE, which is a European network of research on social and solidarity economy, They have done research on the future of work and innovative financial mechanism to promote a sustainable social solidarity economy ecosystem. That their conclusion is the social solidarity economy organization can channel jobs in emerging sectors, even for the European countries, like the silver economy or within entrepreneurial organizations that can provide more structure and security. So social solidarity economy has a key role to play actually not only in immediate recovery of COVID-19 pandemic crisis, but in mid to long-term job recovery strategies, especially identifying potentials in various sectors, such as the care industries, or organic healthy food production and consumptions, distribution, sanitation, healthcare service, and care for elders and children, and so on. Recently, UN General Secretary also has insisted about the role of social solidarity economy in his report on socially just transition towards sustainable development from the COVID-19 pandemic, saying that the social solidarity economy present and active in all sectors of economic activity represent an alternative model of growth aimed at finding a new balance between economic efficiency and social environmental resilience. It's quite interesting that the UN General Secretary is mentioning about this, because his focus is not only about immediate response to the social and economic consequences of COVID-19, but he's proposing that social solidarity economy has a potential even to achieve ecological transition and to build an environmental resilience. So I would say that all of a sudden that within the current context of COVID-19 pandemic, social solidarity economy is becoming a like mainstream public policy proposed by various national governments, regional institutions, and as well as international organizations. Actually, the European Union is preparing for the first time in the history of European Union that European Union's action plan for next 7 years on social solidarity economy. So actually the role of social solidarity economy in generating employment in the aftermath of the global crisis, which already happened in 2007 and 2008, I mean, after the global financial crisis, is very much attracting the attention of government and public policies, especially because this strategy of social solidarity economy to generate employment comes with social protection. And they are also giving high attention to the capacity of social solidarity economy to contribute to countering the growth of precarious employment, as well as developing an ecosystem, not only for the national government, but for the local government, whether they are in rural areas or in urban areas, to boost and to respond to various social problems. So as you can see here in this chapter, the social solidarity economy is important because we can fight against climate change and ecological transition, or it depends on your priority. You know, it can also generate social and technological innovation, or it can provide equal opportunity for all, or it promotes social cohesion, fighting against poverty, and promoting social and labor integration, or it could be a driver for local, regional, and rural development, or it provides social protection and universal access to quality social service for the general interest. And also it develops sustainable and social finance mechanisms. And then it could be a tool for smart, sustainable, and inclusive growth. And it generates active participation of citizens, and it really create high quality jobs. So I think is you know, that I have prepared those slides for you just to capture some ideas. So what is important in the social solidarity economy, because it's inclusive and sustainable practice, which are considered as fundamental to achieve 2030 agenda as well as sustainable development goals. But in the current context, is also key strategy to eliminate poverty and not to leave anyone behind, and also to to build more resilience at the national and local level, especially among the vulnerable populations who are mostly affected by climate changes and by the current COVID-19 pandemic crisis. And also because it united several stakeholders and local actors to work for the equitable, sustainable, and resilient societies. So that's why actually social solidarity economy is emerging as a new development paradigm in current context. I think it just captures again that I think most importantly highlighted contribution of social solidarity economy is of course the job creation, but not only job creation alone, but with the job quality which can be addressed, and especially for the working poverty, or that people who are working but still in a situation of poverty despite of their employment. And there are actually more than 780 million, but as I said, because of about 400 million people who are pushed by the COVID-19 pandemic crisis as a poor people, that actually 780 million people will be more than 1,000 million people. So I think especially in the current context of growing poverty and equality, that's why I think the role and potential of social solidarity economy is getting much higher attention, and especially concerning the share of income, because they distribute their surplus and benefits for the communities and for the general purposes, and the wealth controlled not only by richest people but by all. So I would say that in the face of increasingly complex development challenges at all levels, actually that social solidarity economy is getting very high attention as a public policy and as a strategy, because it is an economic force producing goods and services and contributing to the wealth creation, but for all. And it's becoming a global social movement working to transform our development model, especially that our production and consumption model, which is not so sustainable, which is not so ecological or environmentally friendly, that they are transforming, they are proposing to a transition to a more sustainable model of production and consumptions. And also because they work very closely, not only with the government, but also with citizens and also private sector. So there is a variety of enterprise and organizations who are actually producing goods and services, but with the expressed goal of maximizing social, economic, and environmental and cultural impact. Why I think I just want to spend a few minutes why social solidarity economy is capable to provide those impact or those outcomes. Because social solidarity economy has a capacity to identify emerging needs, because they are rooted at the local level, at the community level. So they know very well about the needs and about the problems faced by the people and by communities. And they are especially capable to respond to the aspirations of groups like youth, indigenous, and social movement, women's groups. And they seem to survive better than traditional small and medium enterprise. And this is proved by various research materials. And they reinvest their financial and social return for the public goods. And I said already, their wealth redistribution is embedded in the process of wealth creation. They are not saying that we will earn first the money and we will become rich and then we will distribute. No, from the very beginning, that distribution is part of the principle and value, and is entirely integrated into the process of their wealth creation. And they are able to combine public, private, and non-market resources and build social cohesion. And also they mobilize untapped entrepreneurial capacity within communities and social movements, especially among youth, women's groups, and indigenous populations. And this is also very important. They are rooted really in communities and contribute to local development. So increasingly, that they are getting support from both students and people communities as well as local government. And so they are acting based on people's needs and aspirations, guided by democratic and human rights-based values. Of course, I think why that anyone would against. Actually, that I have quoted here some statistics because this is only a continent. Actually, we have the entire statistics available. So in the European Union at the moment, that social economy represents 7% of the world GDP. Actually, for only Europe, including European Union and all those countries who are not even part of European Union, that they represent 8% of GDP, with 2.8 million social economic enterprises and organizations operating in Europe, with almost 14 million employment generated. And it's quite interesting that European Union says that actually social solidarity economy has experienced a significant employment growth compared to small and medium enterprise compared to the private sector since the beginning of 2000. So actually that, every, even after the, as I said, after the financial crisis, global financial crisis of 2008 and 9, even social solidarity economy has generated more employment, and this is still continuing in current context of COVID-19 pandemic. So I think that, I have summarized, and this is also quite interesting that we have summarized on Seoul's experience. When city and local government have mobilized their effort to scale up and mainstreaming social economy activities, certain social and political changes are taking place, and that's quite interesting. At the very first phase of the promotion of social solidarity economy, their activity were mostly focused on improving individual person's daily life, living economy, let's say. So, by solving students' living problems and providing daily safety net. When it's becoming a little bit bigger and scaled up, and then they become more numerous, they are not only responding to those individuals' problems, but also they are able to respond and solve social problems, and they are becoming an impact economy for the social problems, strengthening the social safety net by covering the ability to respond to social issues. So actually their goal is to create a citizen economy, the economy which is really controlled and also co-designed by the citizens, securing a future safety net that realizes the citizens' economy, including also inclusive and more environmentally friendly. There are a lot of success stories in many different countries where social solidarity economy is a very important reality. And for instance, Quebec, even during the COVID-19 crisis, that they were able to respond to the fragility of social safety net, and especially people who are suffering by the health crisis, as the people like seniors or homeless or people living with physical or mental dependence and limitations. And particularly because even a country like Canada, where public services are good and good quality and is equally provided for all, but so several social economy enterprise networks are able to really respond to the people with limited capacities to live in dignity, and especially not only in terms of health care, but also the services they needed at home and within their communities. And one of the cases is that early childhood centers, which is a Quebec-wide network of child care services, and is directly managed by parents and supported by the state. And it's quite interesting that these early childhood centers, through providing the child care service managed by parents, it seems they have released incredible potential of women to get to the labor market and to seek for an employment. And all the statistics has proven that this has significantly reduced the poverty rate of single parent families and represent a profitable investment for the government. At the moment, they are generating more employment than hydro or energy sector and some big infrastructure industries. So these are quite interesting indicators. And another success story is that actually they are developing a project for a period of 3 years with various stakeholders, various actors who are united to allow communities to appropriate the social economy as a tool for territorial development. So they are saying that not only to respond to the current pandemic situation, but to allow economic recovery, which will be controlled by the communities and local territories. So the aim is to strengthen capacity for action and knowledge of communities and collective entrepreneurship in order to respond to current challenges. The stakeholders who are involved are the social finance institutions, labor movement, workforce development, territorial, so the local government and many of even I would say intermediary organizations are involved actually to identify good practices of social solidarity economy and transfer from one community to another and to one locality to another. So they would like to bring social economy towards more structural change and transformation in their society. So I think based on, there are still, we have quite a lot of interesting and success stories, but I would like to mention a few minutes about the role of GSEP and how we are working to increase visibility of social solidarity economy as a strategy for the inclusive and sustainable development. GSEP, as I think Professor Zhang has already mentioned, was established in November 2014 in Seoul, capital city of Republic of Korea, after the second international conference was organized under partnership between public and social solidarity economy. And currently, and then that all the participants have suggested to form a network and an organization to continue exchange of good practices. So currently that we are present in 5 continents with 80 members, and 37 are the local governments of metropolitan cities and a national network of local government, and 52 are the national or regional or international social solidarity economic networks. We are working to promote social solidarity economy as a strategy for the equitable, inclusive, sustainable local economic development. And in order to achieve this objective, we do accompany a lot of local government across the world to collaborate with social solidarity economy actors, and especially if they could engage in the co-creation of public policies and the establishment of the sustainable ecosystem that you have seen already before. So our objective is to promote sustainable partnership between local government and social solidarity economy organizations for the sustainable economic ecosystem of social solidarity economy, and to share good experience of social solidarity economic entities around the world, and also to transfer and to share those knowledges. And we work to integrate this and work into major problems, especially for the developing countries where the informal economy is the major character or future of the economy, and to achieve fair growth and participatory democracy and sustainable development. So how we support development of social solidarity economy, especially promoting conducive public policies in our member territories. First of all, because we are trying to create and facilitating opportunities for the exchange of good practices among cities and local government, as well as social economic organizations. For instance, that initiative for economic and job recoveries, we have done during last year, that with the 5 series of webinars and 5 days of global forum, that we have encouraged all cities and local government who have responded immediately to the COVID-19 crisis and come up with initiative and public policy to support social solidarity economy. So for instance, the city of Montreal has implemented various financial measures as well as accompanying measures targeting especially the social solidarity economy sector. They have reduced the mandatory contribution to the social economy development funds, but also they have provided psychological counseling programs and crisis management, human resource trainings, because many enterprises have faced to reduce their employment or to readjust human resources. And they also recognize social economy as a strategic sector for the recovery of COVID-19. So they set up an advisory committee for the economic recovery, put as the advisory committee of the mayor. Seoul Metropolitan Government also developed similar measures, mostly financial measures, to support social economic organizations and enterprise, along also with small, medium enterprise and small businesses. But very important project was developed actually to build a cooperation and partnership between social economic organizations and small commerce and shop owners in the same territory in order to have more cooperative and territorial based I would say circular economic alliance. For instance, I mean, all local government in France were mobilized, and I'm just quoting Nouvelle-Aquitaine region because they took both short-term measures, but also long-term measures. So they have also provided various loans and support funds for the social economic enterprise and organizations, but also for the long term, they have prepared 140 million euros for the recovery plan, especially encouraging social economic entities and enterprise to engage in ecological and economic transition, focusing mostly on local production and consumption. Similar efforts are developed by various cities and local governments in developing countries. I'm quoting city of Dakar has also supporting social economic organizations through rescheduling of their repayment period through municipal development and solidarity funds, and also through the incubator for the promotion of employment through micro enterprise. So apart from these financial levers that they have proposed, but they have also facilitated access of many social economic enterprise and organizations to public procurement opportunities. And actually this has become now generalized. Many national and local governments have been engaged in the campaign to buy the product of social solidarity economy. So apart from that, actually, we do organize also a regional police dialogue for each continent. So for Africa, Asia, Europe, and Latin American regions, in order to encourage the exchange of good practices, success stories among the countries in the region, and to build also a network of support groups, both for the cities, local government, as well as for the social economic enterprise and organizations. Second area that we are working to give a voice to our member cities and organizations, especially in discussions at global level and in global political process through our advocacy actions and support. Firstly, because in the UN group, we are an observer organization to the UN Task Force for Social Solidarity Economy, which was formed in 2014. And actually it involves more than 18 UN agencies with about 14 observer organizations. And currently that there is a whole discussion about the resolution to be passed on social solidarity economy at the UN General Assembly but also UN Task Force for Social Circular Economy is going to launch a pilot project targeting for the developing countries to see how social circular economy really can make a great impact to respond to the current challenges, especially, as I said, with growing poverty and inequality. Currently, that also that OECD is conducting 3-year research program, which is called Global Action to Promote Social and Solidarity Ecosystems. We are actually contributing and actively participating in this global action, and particularly peer learning partnership on legal framework. As I already explained in the ecosystem, legal framework is very important. So many countries who are still supporting social economy without having a legal framework, we are actually encouraging more countries to join to adopt a legal framework. So this concerns about 33 countries. So with 27 EU countries plus 6 non-EU countries such as Canada, Mexico, South Africa, India, and South Korea. We are individually very much involved with our members and our member cities for the adoption of the framework law on social economy. We've been engaged with Cameroon, but they have adopted a framework on social economy in 2019. We are currently working with our partners, with our members in Morocco, Senegal, Cambodia, as well as Republic of Korea. Third area that we are trying to facilitate access to funding opportunities, and especially last year that I think this has been a very important initiative because we have been consulting with Korea in KOICA to provide emergency aid, COVID-19 aid to the social economic entities and organizations in developing countries. Thanks God, I think finally KOICA was also convinced because we thought it was very important to ensure that their employment should not be destroyed and should not be lost because of the COVID-19 crisis. So with the help of KOICA, that we were able to support 35 projects in 22 countries. And our own members, I think there were 6 projects which are benefit. And there was a survey conducted at the beginning of this year, and it's quite interesting. Despite of very limited financial contribution they have provided through this program, it was between $10,000 to $15,000, and for 3 to 4 months. So even though it was very limited financial contribution for the very limited period, the impact has been very important. And I think short and immediate impact, 100% of those organizations said they were able to preserve their income generating activity as well as the employment jobs in the communities. And in terms of long-term impact, thanks to this support and their involvement, with communities who are so badly affected by the COVID-19 pandemic, they were able to identify what areas are critical for the future development of communities and social economy. So they have identified, for instance, digital skills are very important for all of them, and some tools, for instance, for the ecological transition, more, and so on. So I think you can see in our website about individual those projects. And I just would like to say very quickly that we are also providing access to technical support and expertise on various issues through a pool of expert or capacity building program. Last month, we had undertaken 4-day long capacity building program for the local government officials and SSE network in French-speaking countries. There were more than 35 participants from 15 countries took part. It was a joint program with UCLG Africa. UCLG is an international network of cities and local government. And there has been a very good evaluation, and they are requesting us to have the second batch of the training also for English-speaking countries. And we are going to do in June. And we are also producing various publications and also guidelines and tools for the local governments. Very recently published guideline for local government for social and solidarity economy is how, especially for those governments who are not yet engaged, how to engage and how to develop public policies. And we have also published very recently 7 city cases about the ecosystem, including Montreal, Barcelona, Mexico, Durban, Dhaka, Seoul, and so on. If you would like to know more about the guidelines, tomorrow we are organizing a section as part of the European Social Economy Summit of the European Union from I think 3 to 4:30 Central European time, means for Seoul, I think for Korea is at 10 in the evening, but you are most welcome to join us. So my last question is, are you ready to be the driver of change in this search, for inclusive and sustainable development? Then please get involved with the social solidarity economy. Thank you very much for your attention.
Okay, thank you very much, Secretary General Rance Kwak. I guess you have a lot of more to say about this role of the potential role of those SSE in the pandemic era. At the same time, I think that our audience have a lot of questions, so we'll have the Q&A time. So this special lecture is organized for the mainly the students to provide information and knowledge about SSE. At the same time, is potential for in the future, especially post-COVID era. So feel free to ask any kind of question, and you have a lot of many, the specific in the cases or conceptualization or anything. So feel free to ask any questions, and then when you ask, please let me know your hand and raise your hand, and then introduce yourself shortly. And then also question, please be short because there are expect a lot of questions and answers. Okay, anyone? Great questions, comments. I know that some of took classes of social economy and some others not, but
okay, because students are, you need to warm up.
okay.
Let me. So I'm the Professor Chang Suk Kim here at Yonsei University, and thank you very much for your wonderful presentation. And my first question is about running of GSEF. And it was organized in 2014, and these international organizations must be run with some resources. So how the running cost is supported? Will the members provide some resources to this organization, or how you run the organization?
Okay, thank you very much, Professor, for your question. I think first of all, because when GSEF Association was founded in 2014, and Seoul Metropolitan Government wanted to host as a chair city, and that's how actually the International Secretariat is located in Seoul. And Seoul Metropolitan Government wanted to support for the operational cost of the Secretariat, International Secretariat. So I would say, well, almost 90% of our current budget for the human resources, as well as some key activities are coming from Seoul Metropolitan Government. But one of our signature program, which is the biannual Global Social Economy Forum, which has started in Seoul in 2014, but actually we are organizing in rotation from one continent to another. So after this Global Social Economic Forum, which was hosted in Seoul 2016, it was hosted by the Montreal City, Canada. And then 2018 was hosted by Bilbao City, Spain, Europe. And now normally, I mean, initially that this was going to be in the city of Mexico last year, but due to the COVID-19 pandemic, we have postponed till this year. So since last year, this year that all the activities are carrying out for the Mexico Forum, which will be hosted by the city of Mexico and by federal government of Mexico. Actually, that this very important global event is contributed by member cities entirely. So 100% of budget, which is normally between 8 to 10 million probably dollars, that entire contribution are coming from member cities. So they are actually taking and contributing by rotation base from one continent to another. And the host city is elected by the General Assembly of the GSF. Of course, all members, full and auxiliary members do pay membership fees. But since in the recent years that our members are growing in mostly developing countries, because as I already said, in the European countries, the social solidarity economy is a long history, is quite well established. So there are already quite a lot of network and forums formed. So we are having much more fast growth in developing countries. So I think their contribution in terms of membership fee is not so significant. But nevertheless, I think when we do organize a regional policy dialogue or capacity training programs, they do participate by sharing cost as well as human resources.
Thank you. Thank you
Okay,
for
thank you.
kind
So I think
explanation.
the two students to raise your hand, right? I couldn't. Can you? So just speak up. I may not recognize your raise hand. So if you have question, just speak up first. Okay,
Professor,
you
I
will say.
have.
Okay, okay. Yeah.
Yes. And thank you for your nice presentation. As SSC organization, do you have experience cash forward program or project and as the income generation project? If you have experience, please let me know how to implement the cash forward program or project.
Okay, thank you very much for your question. I think Shishin Yang, we are not an organization which runs the cash for work program. We are not distributing any kind of financial support to any member. As I explained that our organization's purpose is basically to exchange good experience and good strategies developed by cities and local government, as well as social economic enterprise and organizations. So our purpose is to make those information available and to make those knowledges for the benefit of all, not to provide financial support or assistance. I think most of cash for work programs are run by the governments or by organizations as contract by the governments. Yes, I think we do have a very mitigated evaluation of impact, and I think they do have their functions, but certainly it is not area of social solidarity economic organizations concern. I think at the same time, because I think somebody has asked about do I have any advantage for participating in this forum? I just responded in the chat, but if your question is concerning the individual to be affiliated or to participate in our forum, my response is we do not accept individuals to become members. You could be the supporters, But as I said, you know, our purpose is basically rooted in the territories, whether it's a small city or small region, but it's in one of the territories, one of the region where public authorities such as city or local government and social economic organizations to collaborate, to work together and in partnership. So our membership categories are only for cities and local government or the network of those institutions and social economic organizations and their networks. Individuals cannot be a part of our forum.
Okay, next.
Yes, Professor Peshia.
Okay, Pesh.
Yes. Thank you very much to the professor, and thank you very much to the presenter for such an informative presentation. And for me, it's been a very great one. It has really helped me concretize on the information and the class I had with Professor in our fall semester. And speaking as a human rights activist and promoting the rights of persons with disabilities, I'm first of all curious to know the economic participation rates of persons with disabilities in South Korea itself, because as we are aware that there are more disadvantaged in the labor market. But also I would like to, I think to say something about the COVID-19 crisis. Yeah, we do realize that actually the COVID-19 crisis exposed so much vulnerabilities within our communities. And so I think it calls for a rebalancing and of course efficiency and resilience throughout the economy. However, I also want to note that the social and solidarity economy has a much larger role in the post-COVID-19, of course, to inspire transformation to a more inclusive and sustainable economy, of course, and society. So I am asking a question. What exactly have you done in this regard? Are you looking at promoting social innovation practices as is done for technological innovation? How are you trying beyond just providing this support? How best or how are you planning to promote the social innovations so that we see a more resilient as well as inclusive and sustainable development? Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you very much for your question. I will respond to, first of all, to your question about what percentage of social economy is actually employing disabled people. As I said, unfortunately, we do not have data. I think especially not only in Korea, but in many other countries who have developed social economy public policies recently, we do not have what we call segregated data. You know, so we do not, because I think this is the one of the reason why we are promoting framework law and social economy, because in Korea we still do not have overarching legal framework for social economy. We have all different laws for instance, concerning cooperative, concerning the promotion of social enterprise, or concerning the village enterprise or community enterprise. So we are recognizing only these four entities, and mostly, for instance, community enterprise, or which is considered also self-employed enterprise or organizations, which also can be a social enterprise, who are working with vulnerable populations such as the homeless people or disabled peoples. It is not considered as a separate category, so their data are all melted into social enterprise and also a village enterprise, because they belong to different ministries. and they are governed by different laws. So we do not have, unified system of data and statistics which are providing disaggregated data. Nevertheless, I think there are a lot of social enterprise as well as cooperative and village enterprise who are working and who are employing disabled people. As I know that the very first social enterprise, Ridwick, is the very one of the very first social enterprise recognized by the Korean government, is employing disabled persons, and even the CEO himself is a disabled person. He is the co-chair of GSEF. And many also of those enterprise which are labeled as the social enterprise are working and employing disabled people. But unfortunately, we do not have national statistics. But I would say depends on the category of social economy entities that especially self-employed companies, they do employ quite important percentage of disabled persons. Your second question about how we are helping or supporting social innovation or social economy. As I said, that social innovations we believe that are not coming from outsiders or outside advice. So we are an international network as a network and as an organization of international network. We are identifying those some good practices or success stories, and we are providing those informations and all the materials to other countries who would like to learn from those experiences. But because of the difference of economic, social, political situations, one success story which was very good in Canada could not be maybe transferred to, for instance, Senegal or Cameroon. So you need to identify what can be transferred, what can be working in another countries, and what should be also analyzed from your indigenous or Indonesian context of your country, because your culture is different, your political environment is different, your social and cultural fabrics are different. That's why we are insisting a lot, even national and local governments who would like to develop either legal or public policies, first to sit with social economic entities and enterprise, to listen to them, to identify what is working, what is not working, and why it's not working, and to analyze and to seek responses collectively. So some of those good practices and good experience which are coming from outside can inspire new practice and new models, but the most important forces has to come from internally within your own territories, from the people who are already engaged on the ground. So I would say is for us is both, that we are sometimes providing very fresh and innovative ideas, but what makes this to work are really depends on the local stakeholders and on the partnerships and the working relationship they have established within that territory. That's why, as I explained, the ecosystem is very important for us. It's not one element which will determine, but various elements which has to function organically to provide, to create and to produce impact. So we do not believe actually any solution coming from outside. It's the contrary. But many those good ideas and innovative solutions could just be probably inspiration, or could be a catalyst but the whole capacity in terms of building process and driving into the final outcome and production of impact will be dependent on the capacity of local stakeholders.
Okay, next.
I hope that my response is is sufficient, is responding to your question. I don't see any other questions.
Yeah, I don't see any in the chatting room and any here. No question. Okay.
If you you don't have your question immediately, but you would like to know more about even GSEF or about social solidarity economy, you can visit our website as well as you can visit UN Task Force for Social Solidarity Economy website. There are a lot of information available, and there are a lot of initiative and individual cases already uploaded. And you will learn more probably. You can just type if you are interested in gender issues or employment issues or by the regions. You can get more information available at UN Task Force Knowledge Hub and Social Solidarity Economy, or even the ILO or site. What is important for me is, as I said, in the current context, social solidarity economy is becoming a very important strategy for government, policymakers, and many UN and international organizations. So certainly, I think you are the master students of the KOICA program, as well as important university concerned with inclusive and sustainable development. I would strongly recommend for you to have a look on those websites and those organizations.
So then I have a question. I heard that you are communicating, internationally, a lot of the organizations, in the public sector as well as the practitioners. So then, currently, what is the most important issue, the potential role of the social economy, in the currently the solving the crisis at the same time in the future, some specific agenda, if you want to introduce.
Yeah, I think as I said that we have been preparing for the last whole years with a series of 5 series of webinars in each languages. So actually that more than 16 webinars that we have organized last year to identify what are the most important questions or important challenges faced by different communities and different countries, and what we need to do. So those questions have come to the sub-thematic areas that where we are actually working to organize our next Global Social Economic Forum. The very first challenge is to build and rebuild communities. As I said, especially those communities which are very vulnerable, like indigenous communities or marginalized communities or communities with a low income, they are really suffering, and including also social solidarity economic organization enterprise who are very small structure with less than 10 persons employed, and certain sectors like tourism or culture, education, that many also social economy organizations and enterprise who are very affected by certain category of industries, they are really suffering. So for us, is one of the very important challenge is how to build and rebuild communities by putting real potential of social economy to address some of those urgent questions. As I said, growing poverty, growing inequality, gender promotions, because especially in those vulnerable communities and gender-based violence has been an increase, and also equal access to health care and social services and so on. I think, as I mentioned about our COICA supported project that we have supported for the five months of last year, many, for instance, African communities and cities have come up with clearly that they were able to operate this project thanks to the social economy, who know very well about the communities, about their regions. So they know immediately who are the people immediately in need of support, what are the activities should be supported. So including for many local and national government who doesn't know how to respond to this unexpected crisis, that actually social economy, through their social fabrics and social relationships, they were able to immediately come up with where should be the priority of interventions and projects and people who should be supported. But the question is now more mid and long term, how to integrate them into the current recovery plans, not through just short project to make emergency relief, but to provide more decent employment, or also to integrate into the more inclusive and sustainable development practices. So that's where actually we are working a lot with the local governments and with national government. That's why we organize capacity building trainings with the UCLG Africa, and UCLG Africa was very, very happy because many of the, it was amazing, so many mayors in person attended for whole 4 days training programs, and because it clarifies in their minds and in their head what are the most important things to do. So I would say that really in terms of very first priority would be that build and rebuild communities, and secondly to really identify areas of policies and measures that government has to address. So we are working a lot with researchers and policy analysis to identify what are those areas that government should really work on in terms of public policies. Thirdly, I think it's growing both from developing countries and developed countries, all are working on ecological transition, how to actually make this recovery phase be more ecologically friendly and to be less, less burden for the environmental consequences. So we are working increasingly to identify good best practices or good successful stories who have achieved for the ecological transition, to make it known, both in terms of providing clean and renewable energies. For instance, more than 70% of energies in Germany are provided by cooperative who are producing clean and renewable energies. And this could be a model also for many countries. I think even Korea is not able to do this. Even Seoul has promoted a lot of solar panels and so on. So those areas where actually that some innovative and good practices could be known and could be promoted more widely. A lot of cities and local governments are working to develop the circular economy. So actually that, changing the pattern of consumptions. And we have just introduced case of Montreal and case of Bordeaux City during this week for the P4G summit. How actually that cities with social economy are really doing for this ecological transition through the circular economy. Last pillar probably is the social finance. Of course, this is the period where everybody needs money, and the question is not only to seek the money, but how to use existing funds and resources. When we are talking about ecosystem, it's not to have more money, but with the same money, how to use this in a way that this is producing much more impact and benefiting more people. So actually, socially sustainable financial mechanisms are able to achieve this. It's very interesting, actually, the success story of Quebec and some European countries who have built this ecosystem of socially sustainable ethical financial mechanisms. For instance, in Quebec, there are 8 social finance mechanisms, but they are not competing with each other. They are complementing with each other. So when one is doing, for instance, for credit, the other one is, for instance, lending money for investment of social economy and so on. And 20 years after that, they have started this very collaborative ecosystem. Today, more than 98% of Quebec people are putting their money in this social financial mechanism, not in capitalist bank and investment companies. So I think our concern is how to use existing, even small money to make a bigger impact and to generate synergies among themselves, but also with the citizens. So I think that those are important, probably, areas of our priorities, and because these are the areas of challenges which were identified by all continents and by all stakeholders.
Okay, thank you very much. I think that all of those you spoke is the very important agenda for the future, important role of the SSE. And then, if any other questions, this might be final. Okay. Okay.
Yes, I think I see in the chart that Myanmar does not have this social solidarity economy, which is very true. But Myanmar governments and local governments are not yet engaged. But I can tell you that many civil society organizations have started already. So not only us, but many Taiwanese or Hong Kong social enterprise are already engaged with them. We will be very happy, actually, to support and to get engaged with any local government or national government who is willing to. So if you have any chance, yes, please put them with us. And of course, we will be very happy to accompany your country.
Thank you.
Yes.
Okay. Bayana.
Somebody, I think, has Bayana said how can I be effectively communicate to the UN and key world organizations? As I said, the best way is first to visit their website and their link, and there is always tool that you can raise question or you can get in touch with them. And if you need any information or you need to get in touch with certain programs or certain actors, so I think first try to visit those websites that I have already mentioned, and you can identify, and at the end there is to contact or to know more. So I think this is the best way, actually, you can start.
Okay. So I think that we used the most time given this special lecture. So I want to close lecture, but before that, let's take a picture.
Yes.
And Nam, Kyung. Okay, are you ready? So
Yes.
please turn on your video. Okay, you know, slightly. Now the coming out the word. So let's take a picture all together. You know, this is, you know, allow students to join and the professor joined this, you know, wonderful lecture. So then let's celebrate. Okay, are you ready? Okay, you know, some of you are not, but it's okay. Now let's take a picture.
Yes.
Okay, and what else we can do? Shake hand.
We love you.
We love you. Okay.